This way, guys.
Don't forget me.
This way, down.
Guys down here, please. Guys down here.
And then look up, please.
Please, down first row.
And then focus straight at Amazon.
Down
Straight
first
at
row. Here, please.
And down here, look Amazon.
Here, please. Together here. Here, please. Here.
Together, stand up in the middle, please. Stand up in the middle, please.
Please, this way. So.
Guys down here in the center again. Down here in the center.
And both you want to have straight at both you in the middle.
Here.
Good right, please.
Thank you.
And sir, one more. Straight ahead.
Guys, to the right side.
Get to the right side here in the corner.
One here. One left, please.
One side of the corner, please.
Okay, one step forward. That's the play.
Yes, that's right.
So this way. Down.
And then your right side. One you straight at. And then one you straight at.
And now straight ahead, please. Left
In the
side.
middle, first row.
Down here in the center. Down here in the center.
Say one more time in the middle. Perfect.
Just behind him.
Down.
And look up.
Please.
That's it.
Up here in the second.
On to the left.
One step forward. One step forward, please. And closer.
Can you slowly move to the right?
Please look in the corner. Don't forget the corner. Down here, please. Down here.
And down here in the middle, please. Down here in the middle. Right here.
All together, just a
Here,
bit.
all together here.
Did you all look up, please?
All of you straight at Amazon.
Here,
All of
please. Down.
Did you all look up in the middle, please?
Please, everybody here.
Guys down to the center again. Down to the center, please. Center.
Check out. Please, all together this way.
And one more time, straight at
This
Amazon.
way.
Down here, in the middle of Amazon. All of you
Check out.
Right side in the corner. Right side in the corner.
Down here in the center.
Check out.
Please. On the left side,
Check out.
down here, please.
And one more time,
Down here. Check out.
and all of you straight at Amazon.
Check out.
Yes, perfect. There's me.
Everybody this way.
Left side.
Can you come a little bit closer?
Check out, please.
And then all together up in the middle, please.
And all of you straight at Amazon. Yes, that's perfect.
Everybody this way.
And down here in the center, please. Down here in the center.
Check out.
Center down here.
Did you get on the left side of the corner, please?
Check out to the second row.
Thank you.
Yeah, this way. Right side. Check out.
Right side, right side.
The second row.
Jacob, stay with us.
Take a nice try.
No.
Bye-bye, Jacob. Step look. Ja, koffer. Yeah. Come one step closer. Der muss nicht alle 2 Jahre hier kommen. That's perfect. So all of you straight in the middle. Yes, straight in. You must all cover that. It's perfect. Everybody.
And down here in the center. Down here in the center, please.
Everybody this way.
Jacob.
This way, everybody this way.
Corner, left corner, please.
And all of you, one more time in the middle. In the middle, down, give me a...
Everybody here.
And to the left, please.
And one step forward, please. This way down.
The both you spread
To your right corner.
spread in the middle, down in the middle.
Here.
Both you spread.
Down in the center, right here. Left.
And both you in the middle. Perfect, Shelby. Don't forget to left.
This way. This way. Jacob.
Okay, Jacob, right side. Next to the teddy bear. Next to the teddy bear. Here.
Jacob, this way.
Can we see your arms?
Jacob. Straight down. Jacob. Jacob.
Thank you. Can you look at the next?
And spread it in the middle, down here. Yeah, perfect.
To the right corner, please. Down.
The middle. Jacob, down here, please.
Today was the Berlinale special gala for the new series by versatile Australian director Justin Kurzel, The Narrow Road to the Deep North, starring Jacob Elordi, who you may have seen as Elvis Presley in Priscilla. He plays medical officer Dorigo Evans in a Japanese prisoner of war camp on the Thailand-Burma railway line. There, in the world of death, he is tormented by memories of his affair with Amy, his uncle's wife. But they also provide him with the strength to survive. The adaptation of Richard Flanagan's Man Booker Prize-winning eponymous novel tells the story of Dorigo's life over several decades in broad, epic strokes. This is the press conference for The Narrow Road to the Deep North.
Remember our names.
Good shot, David. You might need that. For a fiddle. See, I'm going to need that.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Okay, we ready? Hello, Welcome to the 75th Berlinale. My name's Rowan Woods. I'm the series programmer here at the festival. And we're delighted to be welcoming the team from The Narrow Road to the Deep North, which has its world premiere tonight as a Berlinale special gala. Welcome also to everyone who is watching this live stream. Glad to have you with us. So we'll be screening the first 2 episodes tonight of 5. And I would like to introduce the team. So right at the end, we've got Fabian McCallum. David Howell. Executive producer Rachel Gardner. Executive producer Joe Porter. Jacob Elordi. Director and executive producer Justin Cazell. Writer and executive producer Sean Grant. William Lodder. And Christian Byers. So I'm sure you've all got lots of questions, but I'm just going to start with a couple to kick us off. So Sean and Justin, I'd love to start with you both and perhaps to ask you what it was about this book, this novel that attracted you. Why did this feel like an exciting project to take on?
Well, a couple of reasons. It was very personal in that Richard Flanagan, the extraordinary novelist, is a dear friend. And he, Essie, my wife and I were in London when he won the Booker Prize and got to sort of experience and celebrate that with him. And in a million years would I think that he would entrust myself and Sean to try to find a cinematic adaptation of it. But he asked me one day on Bruny Island where he wrote the novel whether I would consider it, which I was very nervous about. But he was very kind and said, you know, you just got to promise me to make it, you know, both your own in terms of that adaptation, which was very generous of him. There's a personal reason as well. My grandfather on my mother's side was a Rata Tobruk and a returned soldier in Australia. On my father's side, my grandfather was a Polish immigrant who'd come over from the war and had been in labour camps. So as a kid, I grew up sort of with these two very important men in my life that lived with the fog of war and the kind of you know, the mist of it, and I could feel the sort of shadow of that past very deeply. So, you know, there were sort of a number of things there, but there's an incredible love story in this book, and that even though it's sort of set against a pretty sort of brutal backdrop of war and especially this prisoner of war camp, there's this inherent idea of love and this particular relationship in the book that actually grows and elevates and evolves through the horrors of war. And there was something so poetic about and beautiful about the point of view of these characters enduring and surviving the war through love, that just made it really compelling. And you know, I sort of we both were very interested to see whether we could make it as a cinematic piece and bring it to life. And
not dissimilar. My grandfather was actually on the line and was a prisoner of war for several years, and I, as a result, saw the effects that it had on him. And I remember the first time I read Richard's book, I walked away knowing my grandfather better than I did prior to that. He didn't speak about it. I was fortunate that Richard's father, who also served on the line, did, and otherwise we wouldn't have the text. So that was the personal reason, but with any project, it's just story, and it's just a beautifully constructed story. I think there's a reason why war stories are continued to be told. I think they show the extremity of humanities in all its good and highs and lows, good and bad, love and loss. So this story was particularly that for me. I'm drawn to character studies. It was a character study over 74 years, almost, of a man's life. That's what appealed to me more than anything. The idea of, you know, we work mostly in film. The idea of having 5 hours to tell a character study was appealing as well. So there was multiple reasons, but at the heart it's just a beautiful story, really well told by Richard and hopefully us.
And Joe and Rachel, you worked closely with Richard on building out the creative team, and he was sort of closely involved in sort of approving Justin and Sean. What was it about these two that you felt what would they bring to the project?
Talent. It's true, and I think, you know, as Justin alluded to as well, he wanted filmmakers that were going to be unflinching in their approach to tell the truth of this story. And he really knew, obviously, as Justin said, you know, he knew Justin and Essie personally, and then got to know Sean as the writer. And I think that was one of the real handshakes about doing this is to honour the truth of the story and not be unflinching in doing that. And you know, it took a long time to get it to where when we could start filming, some 7 years, I think, since he first entrusted the novel to us. But it needed almost that time, probably, for this person to grow up and be ready to play the lead. But yeah.
I think for me it was reading the pilot script and knowing Justin and Sean for years and having worked with Sean on other projects, and you know, it was one of the best scripts with a vision that I had read in a very, very long time. You know, it's really just so exciting to have been able to support these guys along with a massive team of people, including our producer, Alex Tausig, to realise their vision, which has stayed true right from the very early days of the project. So yeah, it's really amazing to be here at Berlinale.
And Jacob, this is your first time working in Australia in a while. What lured you back?
It is, yeah. Justin had sent me a letter asking if I'd be interested in doing the show with him, and Justin is, when I sort of first started watching films, I remember seeing Snowtown when I was maybe 14 or 15, and just wrote his name down and knew that I wanted to work with him. He kind of introduced me to the idea of cinema, really. So it was a letter that I was kind of waiting to get, that I thought would never come. So it was when that came into my inbox, it was sort of, it was an absolute no-brainer. You know, it was like a dream.
Wonderful. So we'll open out for some questions. Yes, just in the second row. Just hold on, wait for the microphone to come to you. Sort of here in the white wool jumper. Sorry, I know there's lots of others. We'll come to you.
Okay, thank you. Oh my God, sorry. Thank you. My question goes to Jacob. Hello. I can imagine that a lot of screenplays and directors turning around you now in this time because you're really superstar. But it's very interesting for me what motivates you when you have to choose something, new step, new character. For example, to this decision to be among this beautiful team. What motivates you every next step? Thank you.
There's a feeling that I get, and I think that everyone gets when you watch a film, and I call it cinema. When you experience cinema, and you're sort of in a room and you watch it and it does that thing to you, that kind of profound, unnameable thing that moves you and confirms you on this planet, in this life. That's what I sort of chase, I guess, as a performer. I want to try and be a part of that. And that to me usually stems from the filmmaker. So I really am just like a super fan who's kind of following his heart, I suppose, in a way. I have no real interest in making movies for the sake of entertainment or for making money. It's to try and catch that impossible feeling that we all have when we see something that's of substance to us.
Thank you.
Hi, Paula Schilbert, Berlin Magazine. My question goes to the team as a whole. I feel that in Europe, but also in the US, we often see a very Eurocentric, US-centric perspective on World War II, and there's not very often stories like you told. We don't often see the Australian, the Southeast Asian, Japanese perspective. Do you feel a certain responsibility or awareness of bringing those perspectives to the very big screen? Thank you.
Yes, very much so. I mean, I think the experience of the building of the railway in Burma is a story outside of Australia that's not well told and well known. In Australia, it's it's a story that has a particular legacy and is very important to our cultural history, and so I do think that it's very privileged that we can make this and make it for a wider audience and sort of tell a certain point of view and perspective of Australian history and sort of what went on in the past and how it sort of shaped the country and generations, and how a large group of people came back to Australia and kind of lived with the shadow of that, enormous tragedy and survived it. So we felt a real responsibility to not only honour this extraordinary perspective and book and writer in Richard, and but also the known history and experience of how it's revered in Australia.
Hi, hello, it's Natalia Zhuk, Carta Berlin. Thank you so much for this work, because for me it resonates very strongly with the modern day, because I'm originally Ukrainian, so the topic of war prisoners and people who are suffering in some camps is very original, not original, but real life to us. My question is, when you were working on this, question is to Jacob and Justin, but maybe for the whole team who wants to answer. When you were working on this, how important it was for you to sort of have this idea in your mind that also the story itself happened way back in the past. There is this connection with the present situation and with all the wars and hostage situations that are still happening. And also because I thought that it might be a good therapy in a way for people who are waiting for their loved ones to return, or for people who returned from, capture during the war, about the possibility to be saved through love, through this experience, that the life does not end on this, it can continue. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll let Jacob talk about it. This book and making it, what was really strong was that hope and love and light, even in the sort of darkest corners, is what reminds people of being human. And there's something so particular about this novel that speaks to that. In such a compelling way, and yeah, definitely making it. There's, there was a conversation that we were having with today, even though it was a piece that was sort of very much set in the memory of the past. So it's its point of view in regards to hope is so sort of singular.
Before we go there, I know there's a question there, but I just want to chime in while we're talking about the depiction of war and also a sort of sense of hope. And I think one thing that you do so beautifully is really portray the kind of the harrowing sense of war, but this real sense of camaraderie and friendship and sort of hope that springs up amongst the boys in the camp. And perhaps all of you, while we've got you here, you can talk a little bit about how you approached those scenes. Go on, Christian. I know you've got an answer for us.
I think everybody's a bit concerned. But I think we really latched onto each other. There were about 10 of us, I think, who were all going through a process to get prisoner of war look down. And I remember Justin saying earlier that just kind of trust the process. We were really well looked after, but just these guys went through something very, very intense, and there are a lot of ghosts in the book, and you can feel a lot of ghosts, I think, when we were doing it. And at Hellfire Pass, it's a really haunted place, so I think the depths of pain and all that we were kind of dealing with to be able to play these characters, we really had to lean on each other. And I'm really glad that we had 10 of us who were completely game, who were ready to just go there as much as we had to do this thing dignity, I think. And it was, on a personal level, probably the joy of my performing life to do this project with this team. So, yeah, that's my view of it.
Just to give some context, the boys in it made an incredible sort of sacrifice to lose an enormous amount of weight, and the series was filmed in sort of 2 parts before the prisoner of war camp and then during their survival of the camp. So the sacrifice that the boys made and the weight that they lost was really substantial and incredibly powerful in terms of what it felt like on set, and the sort of the connection that they all had. I mean, you must have, Dave, Fabian, it was a very particular thing that was happening between all of you, wasn't it? That was sort of outside the crew a little bit as well.
Had Justin kind of give us this incredible freedom to spend a lot of time together and to build real relationships with each other, but then to come onto set and to be able to improvise and sort of let some of that real world chemistry start to inform the characters. So yeah, it was a really unique experience in that way. And yeah, of course, we lost a lot of weight together. So we definitely bonded.
Yeah, and I think with that, I think we all trusted each other in that sense of everyone was in it together. So we were all kind of struggling together in that sense, and everyone just had each other's back, and we knew that what we had to do was just to serve the story as much justice as possible. And I think, all the boys kind of stepped up, and I thought did it as much justice as I'd like to see tonight.
Love you.
I think even to add to what Dave was saying, we were living together through the whole shoot. And I think with Richard's book and what Justin and Sean have done as well, that as much as the series is about these men going through such a horrifying and traumatic experience, it's about that camaraderie and them being together. And I think, living together and eating the little that we could, really made us, work through it and get through the whole process together. So, yeah, it was that camaraderie and, that, yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic performances. Yes, question here.
Hi, Helen Barlow from Australia. Hi, I'm sorry, Jacob, I do need to ask you. But in Cannes, you were played as an older person by Richard Gere, and here you're played by Kieran Hines. Who would you like to be? Who would you like to be in real life when you get older? And could Justin talk about Kieran Hines? He's got an Aussie accent. I know quite well.
I'd like to be Richard Flanagan when I'm older. Seriously. But I mean, yeah, like Kieran, you know, both of those men speak for themselves, like tremendous performers, and I'm just happy to, like, you know, share the screen in some kind of way with them. But how good's Kieran's accent?
Yeah, very good.
Unreal.
And you didn't really answer why what it was like to come back to Australia to work. Did you, having worked so much?
It was a dream come true, and it was a filmmaking experience that I haven't quite had in my life. And honestly, like, long live Australian cinema. It is truly a beautiful thing, and I hope to spend a lot of my time there making pictures.
Hi, thank you. Lotte Schulze from RTL Germany. My question is also to you, Mr. Elordi. What made you decide to take on the role as the Doctor, and how did you prepare for the role? Did you, I don't know, maybe talk to, in German we say time or contemporary witnesses?
Cool. Well, Justin Kurzel was the reason for me doing the film, so I'd play sort of whatever he asked me to play. And yeah, there's, you know, I was lucky enough to have a year before shooting to kind of dive into literature and talk to Richard and kind of just get amongst it and get into it. So I was really lucky for that, and I'm really, really glad that I did end up doing the show, because I got to work with these lads and some more. We had like maybe 20 other blokes that were in the background that went through the weight loss with us, that are sort of featured in the show, and it kind of really woke me up to work with people from home. It was the greatest thing ever, really.
Yes, one more question just here.
My name is Mahari Sagid, African Refugee News. Thank you for this film. This is good also for Australian young people to know what happened to the Australian in the Second World War. Because, you know, Australia played a big part, also in Germany, by feeding the Germans during the East and West German thing. You know, if there is a museum and you can see a big plane and it's written Australian Army, and we were all surprised, you know. But when you took this project and you took all these really fantastic actors, what was the biggest challenge for you?
Thank you.
Thank you. There were lots. There's three kind of sections of the storytelling. Like, essentially, what's so unique about the writing and the sort of DNA of the book is that it is told through sort of memory, and it's told through different sort of timelines and points of view of a life, and it's written in the most poetic and beautiful way. It's not literal. It's very the book is actually very cinematic. So it was how those different sort of timelines and those different points of view would sort of overlap and would sort of speak to each other, and how you would feel the sort of the memories of the love story in it and the war and the experience of the war, how that would sort of ripple and travel to the older Dorigo and the older character, and how he sort of remembers and reflects, and that was one of the biggest challenges, because the book has this extraordinary kind of tapestry of going from, you know, different time periods and different points of view, and as a kind of thread, they're all threaded in a really kind of beautiful way. So it was how to achieve that sort of cinematically, and then it's just there's an ambition to it that was, you know, really challenging in terms of how to make it. Fortunately, we had producers that were able to kind of be very smart about how to do that. And then I just think that the nature of some of the scenes in the prisoner of war camp, there were obviously some of the scenes there were quite confronting and brutal, and how you look after a cast and a crew while doing that, but at the same time try to be as truthful as possible to the experience and that immersive experience of that particular kind of time. And I hadn't done a love story before, and it really worried me that whether I could do it, just in terms of this relationship between, not only Jacob and the rest of the boys and their deep connection to each other, but also the sort of central love story between Amy and Dorigo and Jacob and Odessa. And I just loved it. I just wanted to keep filming that relationship and kind of what it was, and how do you find something very truthful in that, because you can very easily kind of go in towards the familiar with a love story. So how does it remain sort of spontaneous and have life and sort of feel as though it could continue? And that was really exciting actually for both of us. That was something that we hadn't done before in the work that we'd done previously.
I'm afraid we need... okay, one more question there. You better make it a quick one, and then we'll wrap up.
All right. Hi, Elise from Variety. Jacob, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about the weight loss aspect and how that affected you.
Oh, man, that's a trap. You know what? It was a very calming experience to do it with all the lads. I think there was something quite profound that happened in that it wasn't a complete torture. There was a peace that sort of came over all of us when we were in the camps, and you kind of reach a level of love that kind of goes beyond what you're used to in your everyday, because everything gets stripped away, and you come down to the bare bones of, is my mate okay? Am I okay? How can I help? Do you want a jelly bean? It was, and you're watching each other and you're taking care of each other, so it becomes quite primal. And I'm just really grateful to have shared that with these lads and the other boys and Justin. It was a really beautiful experience.
Jacob also took a lot of care of us boys and sent us all vitamins to our house, so we were stoked.
Free vitamins. You beauty.
I'm afraid we need to wrap it up there. Please join me in giving a very, very warm congratulations to the team from the Narrow Road to the Deep North.
I was showing you yesterday too.